Welcome back to The Health Line, issues that shape our well-being. I'm your host, Dr. Andrea Ault-Brutus. In The Health Line, we provide engaging and informative content on the factors that shape our health and well-being, along with innovative insights that help us gain a better understanding of our ever-evolving, complex healthcare system. Today, I'm happy to welcome Jamal Smart, who began his career directing music videos and working on major productions for BET, VH1, and national campaigns. But he felt called to create work with a deeper purpose, stories that truly matter. Inspired by watching loved ones struggle with parenthood in silence, Jamal created a film, Behind the Joy, that explores how postpartum depression affects entire families and underscores the power of community and support. Jamal, welcome to The Health Line.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Doing all right.
So, Jamal, I understand that, your day job,
Yes.
during the daytime, you are an IT professional.
Yes.
But in your off time, you are a filmmaker.
Yes.
So please tell us how you got started in filmmaking.
So I was always a creative, doing like music videos and stuff like that for people around my neighborhood. Then my cousin, his name is Chauncey Henry. At first, he created a movie and he wanted to be a camera operator. And just seeing that process got me inspired to, make my own movie. And to me, it's like, if my family can do it, I can do it. So I just went for it and just started writing and just preparation with blocking, just everything. So yeah, that's how I got started. It was inspired by my cousins and just doing music videos and wanting to be creative.
I understand that Behind the Joy, which is a film that we're going to be talking about today,
Yes.
is your very first film.
Yes.
It's on the topic of postpartum depression. What inspired you to create a film on this important topic?
So I have 3 reasons why. I had my first child when I was 16, and as my only child. So me having her so young, I was the first out of many of my community to have my child. So when they start having children, they'll tell me all these stories of how I don't feel connected to their children and how they don't feel like a bad mother or a bad dad. About 3 years ago now, my sister, she had her first child, and me being older, I kind of knew what postpartum was, but not to the extent that I know now. In the media, there was nothing about it. So I wanted to connect the two of me being creative and me wanting to do my own passion project. So I wanted to connect those two. Then my third reason, I wanted to create a creative event every year to bring my community together, because most of the time when we see each other is mostly at funerals. So when writing the film, I did a case study of about 30 women who went through postpartum. And as you know, I work in a hospital doing IT. I bring it to a labor and delivery nurse educator, and she helped me base the script more in fact, using the Edinburgh Depression Scale, having pre-consistent conditions for her to be on set for postpartum depression and all the PMADs. That's my reasoning.
Okay, great. Well, that's all good reasons. So I'm happy that you are, doing some work in this area because it's really needed. So can you tell us more about the film, Behind the Joy?
So the film is 2 married black couples when they have their first child. One of them is, I guess, the typical strong, independent black woman that don't like asking for help. The other one is a really unemotionally available person that wants to keep everything quiet, and he is strict. He wants to make sure that everything goes according to his plan. And when this child gets introduced, when you first have a baby, nothing goes to plan. The baby takes control and they tend to lose themselves. The woman, her name is Naomi, she is experiencing postpartum psychosis, depression, and instead of asking for help directly, she chooses to hide it and tries to cover it up. And she goes through this roller coaster where the psychosis becomes louder and louder to the point that she just ultimately tries to run away from her responsibilities. And the father, he's just not a help. He tells her to tighten up, or you'll be fine, or you seem different. You'll get all the things that a woman don't want to hear when she's just having a new child. So they go through this whole event. I don't want to spoil the movie. They go through this whole event, and at the end, she finally decides that she wants help. And the tagline of the movie is seeking for help is a step towards joy. So from the tagline, you can get where this movie can go.
I actually had the pleasure of seeing the screening, one of the screenings you had last summer, I could definitely relate. I had my daughter a few years ago, and while I wasn't formally diagnosed with postpartum depression, I could relate to some of the things that she was going through in the film. One of my questions, actually, you actually talked about this a little bit at the screening that I attended last summer, is the process of making the film.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it took you 9 months to make the film, so it's like your own baby. Tell us more about that behind the scenes process. Not go into full detail, but can you tell us more about the process of making the film?
Because I'm an independent filmmaker and I use my own money, I prepared everything down to the key. When I written the film, I was using notes to write the script and teaching myself how to script write. A lot of YouTube, just a lot of YouTube. And for blocking is way the characters move in the scene. I use some of my architect skills to recreate scenes, recreate houses, and show the characters where they're moving. I grabbed a bunch of stills to show like a storyboard and everything. When casting, I leaned on one of my good friends. He's a casting director. His name is Bruce Santana. He helped me choose the actors. And what I did to also choose the actors, that every woman that I interviewed, I actually went to their houses and we watched everybody. It was about 50 people, and everyone harped on 2 people, which is the people I picked. Then for actually production, the actual production and shooting days, the first day it was a lot. It was a lot going on that day. I shot all this in Long Island. Well, all of like 90% in Long Island. And I rented out an Airbnb because both are actors. One was coming from Manhattan, one's coming from New Jersey. And there's a quick story. I told everyone, come the day before by 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock comes on. Nobody's there. And I'm just like, oh my God. Then around 10 o'clock, the main lead actor, he said, yo, I have to go to Philly. My grandma just passed away. I'm going to see if I can come in the morning. Then the lead actress called, said, yeah, I'm just going to come in the morning. And she's coming from Manhattan all the way to Patchogue. I don't know if people are familiar with Patchogue. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning and people started rolling in. And Bobby showed up the day his grandma passed. And, I love him for that, because that's really hard to still show up for something that you know nothing about and still perform. But that's like one of the many stories from production. But yeah, it took me 9 months to do, from writing to casting to directing to shooting to editing and releasing the trailer October 17th.
Of 2024.
Yes.
Great. Well, and you did all that while also holding down a full-time job.
Actually, I had 2 jobs at the time.
Oh my gosh.
I was working at a library, being a system engineer and working my hospital job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is definitely your passion project.
Yeah.
Yes. I understand that you have done multiple screenings of the film since its launch in 2024. What has the experience of screening the film been like for you?
I plan on doing my movie premiere. Then that was it. I was just going to put it on streaming. Probably on YouTube, probably on streaming. Then, when people seen the film and they're like, they love it. And a lot of people keep reaching out to me to the point that I wasn't even booking screenings. They was booking me. To this day, I had 8 screenings, and every one of them is them reaching out to me wanting to screen it. So that was the most craziest thing to me, that something that I sat there and said, I'm going to do it for people to find value and actually take me places like colleges. And I even went to jail. I went to Rikers Island to screen this movie in the Women's Center. It was a crazy experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you what stands out the most. So that experience
the Rikers Island stand out the most. The jail kind of reminds me of school, but just with bars. Really? I don't know if you ever been in a jail. It's so weird, but it was about 30 women who sat and watched. They knew what the movie was about, but they was more sympathetic to the husband that's dealing with the woman who has postpartum than the woman herself, even though they know that she's going through. And I remember one moment where, like, the climax of the movie, all the prisoners was yelling out, "Oh, you gonna lock her up? She's crazy." Oh, they say the guards are like, "Go, she'll lock up. She's right there. She's right there." It was such a jarring experience that they connected with it. And after, they asked me questions and they said, like, I experienced postpartum to the point that I heard the voices, but I took drugs to silence the voices. Then to see the looked on the actor's face after, because I did like a little documentary, and they saying like, wow, like I never knew that me acting and me saying yes to this I'll be connecting with these people that's incarcerated. There's women that's incarcerated, and just shows that how far artistic can go and how it can affect people.
Yeah. And you talked about the feedback you received from the women at Rikers, and what other feedback have you been getting from the audience in the other screening?
A lot of resurface feelings. A lot of women that say like, I never knew that that wasn't normal, or I wish I had this when I was younger. I remember at one film festival, Queen City Film Festival in New Jersey, a woman said she had a kid like 30 years ago, and watching this movie brought back all those feelings. She sat there and talked to me for an hour about how, wow, I felt everything that she felt like, and she called her daughter and stuff like that, and we was all talking. It was just like the impact this movie has had and has been going, it's insane. And for me just to sit back and just learn so much and just take it all in is crazy.
And I'm really happy to tell our audience that we are planning to screen the film here at Hofstra University on April 20th. So
April 20th.
Definitely check out our website and social media for more information about that screening. But we're really happy to be bringing the film here for our students and the community to view. Going back to the issue of postpartum depression and your why for creating the film,
Yes.
Do you personally feel the film is moving the needle on postpartum depression?
Yes. There's a woman, her name is Carol Burnett from the Women Diversity Network. She's one of the first people to actually like embrace me what I was doing. And when I did my movie premiere, which was last year, March 14th, she told me like, this is the first time that a lot of us maternal health people are gathering in one place, because we usually talk in emails. Like, I talk to people on emails for like 10 years and I never met them in person. And to get to meet everybody and push that needle is just amazing in itself. And about 3 of the cast and crew, they became doulas from it. It's another thing that I did is I started a series called the Postpartum Diaries, where I interview mothers and fathers about their postpartum experience. And one of the people that I interviewed was my own cousin. Her name is Natasha Hilton. She was just so liberated by sharing her story, and she put me to the side and said she wants to do, like, I should do a live panel. I don't know anybody like to do a live panel. So I said, okay, but I'm not hosting it. I'm not good on the mic. I don't want to be on camera. She said, okay, she hosted it. And to this day, we had 4 live panels. The first one, we had 2 OGBYNs, 2 doulas, a midwife, a psychotherapist, physical therapist. The second one, and that was in Brooklyn. The second one was at Port Jefferson Library, the same setup. The third one was at York College with Northwell, Forest Hills. And the fourth one was at Stony Brook Medicine out in Stony Brook. And it's like, it just the impact alone of people coming at people saying how much help there is, and I wish I had this or so. It's really pushing the needle within a community basis. It's like I said, it's far beyond what I thought this movie would go.
That's great. That's a blessing, and it's definitely helping us to have more dialogue on this topic. And I should mention, we have several partners who are going to be partnering with us for the screening on April 20th. One is the Women's Diversity Network. Another is the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Long Island chapter. And we're going to also have some providers from the surrounding area as well.
Yes.
So really excited for the panel discussion that's going to take place after the screening. We have the screening in April, but what's next for you?
Next is I'm writing another movie. It's like a spin-off of Behind the Joy. It's going to be called Before the Joy. And that movie is about a woman that has poor prenatal care, but told from a man's mental health perspective. I wanted to cover about 3 topics of, like women, this poor prenatal care and how it can affect everyone around you. The man's perspective of being with a woman that has poor prenatal care and the mental toll that it can take. And third is, the importance of doulas. It's becoming known a little bit, but not known to a point where, I feel like it's a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 3 things that I'm going to cover in that film.
Sounds great. And before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Yes. Go follow me, Behind the Joy Films, or you can go to the website, www.behindthejoy.com. Don't ever be discouraged of your ideas, because you never know how far it can take you. Be the person that you needed. Don't ever let your ideas sit. You never know how far it can take you.
Great.
I don't repeat myself.
You're truly inspirational. So thank you so much, Jamal, for being on our podcast today and for creating the film Behind the Joy. Your work is so important in shedding light on postpartum depression, especially among Black women, a topic that is not often covered. Your storytelling, compassion, and commitment to amplifying these voices are both powerful and deeply impactful. So thank you once again. This wraps up another episode of The Healthline, Issues That Shape Our Wellbeing. I would like to thank our studio engineer, John Mullen. I also like to thank WRHU Radio Hofstra for their help with the production of this podcast. Lastly, I would like to thank Hofstra School of Health Sciences for sponsoring this podcast. I am Dr. Andrea Ault-Brutus, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.